creepiness in this one. If this combination of sounds and visuals help you, do not forget to like, leave a comment, and please subscribe before you fall asleep. Also, I wanted to say that my channel is not monetized, and I have a Patreon that I put videos there as well. So if you want to support me, that would be amazing. Thank you to those of you who are already there. Your support means everything to me, and not even monetarily. So thank you so much. Alright, now, as I always say, if you want to fall asleep, it is the time to lay back, relax, maybe close your eyes or put your phone away and stare into the distance. And just give yourself away to my sound. Alright, before starting to read the first story, I also wanted to add that most of the things that we are reading are not serious, nothing too scary or crazy, but I love reading these because I like knowing how other people interpret the odd things that happen in their lives, coincidences, or just memory things that happen to us that we don't have an explanation for. I like to read and see how people explain them or what and how it makes them feel. After reading them, I'll tell you what I think about it, and I would love if you're still awake and want to tell me what you think about it, if there's something that, inspires you to give me your opinion. But most importantly, if you want to sleep, just, stay laid back. The first story is from subreddit Glitch in the Matrix, and it is titled Missing Time. I had what I can only describe as a glitch in the Matrix. I travel for a living, and one of the territories that I've traveled many times, and not to mention the fact that I grew up around this particular area, and I'm well acquainted with the roadways and the surrounding towns. So today I left my home at 10:30 a.m. for a trip that takes me 2 hours and 15 minutes. About halfway through the trip, I started to feel extremely tired, and I was coming up on one of the main towns that I passed through. I thought to myself, I'll just get through this small town at the other end and a couple of restaurants where I can stop. I'll get out, go to the bathroom, get something to eat, walk around and wake myself up. As I'm sitting there, there's some cars ahead of me. The next thing I know, I'm looking around, singing a song on the radio and trying to figure out where I am. I see a sign. I'm about 10 miles away from my destination, which means I missed about 25 miles of my trip, straight through town, under bridges, stoplights, stop signs, curvy roads, hills, 25 miles of missing time. The story is written simple, to the point, and kinda rushed, as if someone's remembering something. If you look at it, it looks like a long paragraph. And I kinda believe that this person had this experience. So getting that out the way, he's saying, or she, I'm not sure, I think it's a he, I don't know why, they lost about 2 hours of their lives and don't remember what happened. The last thing she was thinking in the car was to stop at those places to use the bathroom and stuff, but I don't think she ever did. But 2 extra hours were left, and there she is, kinda teleported into the 10-mile to the house part. That is very odd and unexplainable. But if that happened to me, that would worry me so much that I would definitely go to a neurologist, I think, and tell them what happened, and maybe they can do scans of my brain. That's the first thing I would think about. And maybe go ahead with if this actually happened to me. Now, what else could that be? If the doctor says your brain's fine, nothing's messed up in your brain, then I start thinking about supernatural. Or, yeah, it must be supernatural if your brain's, I don't know. Let's read some of the comments. Like this one that says, I've got no answers for you, but I just want to say I believe you. Something weird happened. Do you have a dash cam? Maybe get one in case something happens. And the original poster answered, I don't currently, but I did order one today. How many percentage of people you think in America have dash cams? Is that like a regular thing to have dash cams? It must be, because you see so many videos of accidents happen. Another commenter says, if it weren't for the time lost, I'd say you just spaced out on a drive you've done so often that it is automatic. First time that happened to me, I really tripped out, but I hadn't lost time. But that extra 1 hour 45 minutes thing changes things. Exactly. So if this is a story and made up, that is amazing writing to think that to add the part when you lose almost 2 hours, not only you space out and don't remember anything, but you have also, it took you long, maybe it took her, or maybe it took them a long time because they were going very slow. Maybe if it's a road that there's not that many people on, that they wouldn't notice. I really don't know. I had a very similar situation occur to me in 2011. I've considered hypnotherapy, but really don't want to know what happened. Lol. Yikes. Another one says, read Custodians by Dolores Cannon. It explains. Now what is that? I'm not gonna look that up. Another comment says, this is the beginning of every driving alien abduction story ever. So was he probed on his way to work? Maybe that explains the extra 2 hours that it took. Now let's read another story. This This next one is from subreddit Paranormal, and it is titled, "I'm a child care worker, and today a child freaked me out." As the title states, I'm a child care worker, and the children I work with are all aged between 2 and 3. Today I took one particular child, who is 2.5, into the toilets, changing room, and placed him on a nappy changing mat on the floor. He immediately began pointing at the ceiling excitedly and talking about a sheep. There are no stickers or artwork in the room. The walls are painted blue and the ceiling is white. The only thing on the ceiling is a light and some cobwebs, neither of which resemble a sheep. I asked him about the sheep and looked in the direction he was looking, and he said, "Happy sheep," while smiling at something I obviously couldn't see. He then moved his eye to the wall, and I asked him to point to where the sheep was, and he now pointed to the wall. So this weird invisible sheep was moving around the room. He kept repeating, "That is sheep. Sheep is happy." And his eyes were fixed intently. As I changed his nappy, feeling slightly creeped out, took him back to the classroom, he waved at the wall, saying, "Bye-bye sheep." Just an interesting and weird anecdote from work today. But a cute creepy story. Children are so imaginative. It could have been like some lines on the wall that in some 3-year-old mind looked like a sheep, and maybe it like traveled down the wall. You know how it works. It is amazing to watch them do this. Just make stories out of everything. Alright, let's read another one from the same subreddit, Paranormal. This one is titled, "We had no idea what he was going through. Then someone new joined and saw him." This happened many years ago, but I've never forgotten it. A colleague of mine took his own life. He jumped. It was shocking and heartbreaking because he was honestly one of the nicest people in the office, who was funny, kind, and always smiling. No one saw it coming. He never showed any signs that he was struggling. For months after, the whole office felt heavy. Eventually, life moved on as it always does, but of course, we never forgot him. About a year later, a new girl named Anne joined us. She had no idea about what had happened. One day, Anne and another colleague from HR and I were chatting near the HR's desk. The which our colleague and I just froze. We looked at each other and then told her the truth, that he had passed away. And now Anne's jaw literally dropped. She went pale and said, "I keep seeing him around the office." She said he was always just quietly around, watching, never speaking, just there. That's when we finally told her the full story of what had happened. After that day, she never mentioned him again. That's when she told us she sometimes sees things other people can't, and it wasn't just once or twice, as she's seen him enough to recognize him in a photo. It sent chills down my spine. I don't know what to believe, but I do know some people leave a mark so strong it lingers long after they're gone. Note: I used ChatGPT to help me write this out properly because I wanted to tell this story clearly. Please don't come at me for that, please. This is a real memory and I just wanted to share it the best I could. Please don't make jokes or disrespectful comments about someone's death. Alright, they are having a lot of edits to the comments. You should definitely not do that, who cares? That is a crazy story. If true, well, very crazy. In my opinion, and what I believe, is that our souls will not linger around after we die. I do not think that we have that ability to, walk amongst the living. And, but also, I believe that sometimes people do see their loved ones, the apparition of their loved ones who died, or in this case maybe a stranger who died. What I think is more possible is that there are these energetic beings that they may feed off something as big as that happening, and maybe they transform into what takes the most fear out of people around them, maybe, or fear or belief, whatever it is. What I'm saying is that there are demons amongst us, and they may look and do whatever it takes for you to get, away from the truth. In this case, maybe I'm just, going with the flow here. Maybe there is something messing with Anne's mind to make her see things that others can't see. But maybe they are just imitating this poor guy. Maybe he left a mark so big, as the writer said, that it becomes a source of negativity, Anyway, that was a dark one. Let's read another one. From the same subreddit, Paranormal. It is titled, "Has anyone else had a relative who somehow knew they were going to die?" It occurred roughly 12 or 13 years back, and has stayed with me since the day my wife first mentioned it to me. as usual. Around mid-afternoon, fell asleep in his bed, shut his eyes, and died while asleep. It wasn't as if there were any pre-warning signs or noticeable symptoms of illness that day. He just seemed to know. I've wondered always, did anyone else experience anything like this with someone close? Is there any sort of reasoning, psychological, medical, or even spiritual, to account for this sort of consciousness before death? Would greatly like to hear from you or stories like yours. Alright, that is a very interesting story as well. Have you guys had that happen? I don't think my grandfather specifically said that he was going to die, but I think for the last couple of months he knew it, and he didn't really interact with anyone and did much. I don't actually remember what was the cause of his death, but what was I going with that? Or people knowing that they're going to die. Oh, I remember what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the fact that there is a medical term for that feeling. And it is called angor animi, or angor animi. So the medical term for a feeling of impending death or doom, often associated with a heart attack or other serious medical conditions, is called angor animi. This translates to anguish of the soul or anxiety of the mind. How macabre is that? While a feeling of impending doom can precede a heart attack, it's important to remember that it can also be a symptom of other medical conditions or even severe anxiety. If you experience this feeling, it's crucial to seek immediate medical attention to determine the underlying cause and receive appropriate treatment. So yeah, maybe that man, it was his body's way of telling him there's something very wrong. But it's interesting that, I don't know, maybe he was really old. They didn't talk about how old he was. Or maybe the condition that caused him to die was really at its peak. And his body was like, yeah, it's not working. That is the feeling, and it sounds horrifying. But what can it do? That is the part of it all. But also, this is the end of the stories for tonight. And I hope that this far into the video, you've already fallen asleep. And if you are, I hope that you are very, very lucid, and you can decide whatever it is that you want to see or experience. Maybe nothing, just a black void for the next 8 hours. Sounds amazing to me. Or maybe you want to have a hike up a green mountain on a cloudy day. It's been really warm these days, so all I want is some clouds and some moisture in the air. me want to see something else, whatever it is that brings you joy, peace, and happiness. I hope that you experience it tonight. If you're not yet asleep, I suggest you check out my playlists or other videos that you've missed. And if you want to support me and my channel and these videos, it would be really, really appreciated if you checked out my Patreon.